Welcome back. This is Tessa.
And my name's Trisha.
And this is SFL. And we're continuing our little series on the best show to end in 2019, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
It's just an itty-bitty series. It's not a phenomena or anything.
No, there wasn't a musical.
That good. Whatever.
A full-fledged musical with the cast.
Original musical comedy where the music works as some sort of weird fifth wall that tells the story and, you know, shows us exactly what mental illness would look like from a feminist perspective. It's really nothing.
No, we shouldn't even mention it anymore. Should we move on?
It's not groundbreaking.
Should we talk about Fast and the Furious instead?
Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Paul Walker. It is weird. It is weird that he died driving a car really fast.
Oh, that's sad.
Can you not? I mean, It was fast. It was a Fast and Furious death.
Yeah. I don't want to joke about Paul Walker.
Tell me that's not fate. I mean, that's like come on. That's like
on the nose. That is a weird way to go. But
that's like what Rebecca says in this is sometimes life is on the nose. That was a little like, okay. Moving on.
Season 4. Oh, the culmination of so much hard work by Rachel Bloom and who is the co-writer? I'm sorry. Yeah, who is the co-writer? Oh, she's Eileen Brosh McKenna.
She doesn't get enough praise. She is
fantastic. Yeah, we haven't mentioned her so far in our review, but I think she is the if Rachel Bloom is the car, then Eileen Brosh McKenna is the track that this is all running off of. She is brilliant, a brilliant screenwriter who, when I see her name pop up in any of other podcasts that I listen to, I immediately stop whatever I'm doing and I listen to that podcast because she's written every fantastic rom-com that I've ever loved. What's her name? Eileen Brosh McKenna.
Okay, I have to look her up. Is this
she's
like
fantastic.
A Phoebe Waller-Bridge kind of?
She doesn't act.
I guess she doesn't star in them, yeah.
Yeah. But she did The Devil Wears Prada. She did 27 Dresses. She is fantastic.
What's on her IMDb page?
Pretty much that.
She's fantastic.
Yep. Nailed it. Nailing it continually.
So we're doing season 4. This is the final of the SFL, Crazy SFL series.
Yay. With the best final season of TV that I've seen in a long time.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Usually people shit the bed the last 2 episodes and this one did not. And I was very proud of the creative team behind Crazy Ex-Girlfriend for nailing it. And they could have gone on forever and everyone would have been just fine.
They
except for now I'm British and 3 seasons and no more. They had 4 and it was ghastly.
That laugh was a little too pressured, wasn't it?
You don't have to laugh at my accent. No pressure.
I'm like, was that laugh real? Am I here? What am I doing? So
Do I exist?
These, as we said in the last episode, now the titles are very assertive and affirmative. Or she's making affirmations like, I want to be here. I am ashamed. I'm on my own path. I'm making up for lost time. I'm so happy
these are affirmations. I don't think that you would say that in your bathroom mirror. I am making up for lost time.
Yeah. Affirmations are like,
you can do it or I can do it.
Yeah, you're right. These are kind
of
beautiful. More action oriented.
Yeah, right? This is like taking charge season. Like she's realized in some ways, and in some ways she has not realized the error of her ways, and this is the season of making amends.
Making amends and taking personal responsibility, and then everyone else is too. Mm-hmm. Josh's therapy language is getting a little more on point.
Yeah,
it's actually making sense this season. Like he used to just say it, but it would connect into something in Josh land and would make sense. But now he actually has integrated the language correctly into his life. It's fascinating to see.
And I think I'm going to credit Crazy Ex-Girlfriend for changing the way that I talk about other people's mental health issues, because I didn't realize what I was saying was like A, offensive, and B, sometimes incorrect.
Like what?
Like willy-nilly saying that I'm depressed. Or there's an episode, I think it's in season 4, where Josh is just going through and he's decided through some like Cosmo-like quiz that he has all of these disorders. And to say that like kind of adds to the stigma of actually having those disorders because people throw it around like so willy-nilly. And especially the depressed one is one that I try to be conscious of. I know you're probably going to listen through all the podcasts and find every instance where I say I'm depressed, but because you guys are dicks.
She's depressed because of you and only you.
Yeah. But especially just like in common speech, people say that so much. And I'm like, without the weight of actually being depressed and what that actually feels like for people, or calling someone like, oh my God, they're bipolar, or oh my God, you're crazy. I'm like,
or they've gone schizo.
Yeah.
That's a common one. I agree. They show you what it actually is. And I've talked about my mental health journey on the podcast before, and I don't take offense when those things are said because I just had to learn to hear them. I hear people say schizo all the time, and I'm thinking, it looks like someone just changed their mind or their mood. Like, I've seen schizophrenia, you know what I mean? It's not like that. But it happens. But I like one that has been integrated into our lexicon is definitely anxiety. And while I do think that more and more people suffer from anxiety now. And I think it's because of how fast-paced everything is and how connected we are and technology, and we don't have a lot of like time for mindfulness. It almost feels impossible if you want to quote-unquote keep up. But if you talk about anxiety and someone says everyone has anxiety, I actually don't think that's true, because there's anxiety and there's feeling stress and rushed and busy and overwhelmed. And then there's anxiety where it's so bad that you're actually not able to move forward in the same way with depression. So it takes a turn into, no, it's not just I'm feeling anxious and I'm getting everything done. It's like when it can get to the point where you can't even finish a thought, where a thought becomes a half thought and things they roll over and over in your brain, and it can become obsessive, and then you can actually be immobile because of it. So because I've had experience with that, I don't believe that everyone knows what that actually means. But that's one that it's not like depression, because depression has become more solidified in its definition. Anxiety is still, it's more of a degree thing. You can have a degree of it. And people do experience it to a degree. But when I think of it, I'm like, anxiety is like impacting every area of your life and actually preventing you from doing things. But the depression, yeah, for sure. That's depression. Not leaving your house, not being. I had a cousin explain it to me once, because I opened up to him when I started having bouts of depression. And I learned that he had it too, and he's about like 15 years older than me. And he said, depression for me was laying on the couch, not being able to get up and do anything as simple as like a light bulb that needs to be changed directly above me. I can't get it done for a week. Like, I'm looking at it, I know it's there, I said I was going to do it, and I can't put it together to do it. And I'm just still on this couch. I'm like, oh yeah, that's depression.
Yeah. And I think it's through shows like this, not only is it a great, well-written show, but I'm like, it opens a conversation, which is why I feel like it's, because I speak on a podcast a lot, important to be more mindful of the way that I'm choosing to describe either my own emotions, my own mental health, and then also what I feel is going on in the character by prefacing it. This is what I feel is going on.
Yeah, because we don't know.
Characters. I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know the intent
no.
of how these characters are written, but that's based on my Wikipedia knowledge of the symptoms of these things.
Yeah.
What I feel is going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the interesting thing that I've experienced with depression is depression for me isn't sadness. It's not sadness at all. When I was in high school, depression felt more like sadness. As I became older, depression is emptiness. It's not feeling sad. It's past sad. It's kind of overwhelmed by the sad or by the circumstances, where it's basically like a mental and physical fatigue. And so, yeah, when people are like, oh, yeah, that movie was depressing, I mean, it was probably sad. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know if everyone would agree with that. I mean, everyone has different experiences. But for me, yeah, depression is past sad. It's no longer having the motivation to make it better, you know?
Yeah. I think, like, when I think of depression, I think of, like, you are disconnected. And even though you want to reconnect, like, you can see what connected looks like. It's you have to reconnect, like, literally, it's like, I'm thinking of, like, for me, like, in my own head, it's like, you know, like when you string two Christmas lights together, and you have to connect, like, one weird end to the other regular non-weird end.
Yeah.
You know, technical words. I'm an electrician in my part-time.
No, for sure. It's an art.
Yeah, and even though you can see, like, half of the lights are lit up, you would have to manually connect that other set of lights. And even though, yeah, you can see that, like, this is what lit up looks like, and it's really nice that it's lit up, but the thought of me doing that,
the energy required,
it could not.
Yeah.
And I love, I always also think of, like, the imagery of, like, Dante's Inferno, like, when you're separated from God, it's not hot, it's cold, and it represents, like, that disconnection from, guys, I'm kind of religious in my spare time.
Wow.
And I always love the Divine Comedy. It's beautiful written text.
Yeah.
You guys should read it.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
But that imagery to me always stuck out, that it's not like you're burning, and I mean, some levels you are.
Yeah.
But it's that complete disconnection from God. And if you don't believe in God, then maybe that's like a complete disconnection from self. But it's something that you have to go through every circle to get back to get out of, and you have to do it. No one can do that work for you. And so that's what I think of when I really think of depression, instead of just saying, oh, that movie made me depressed, which is just a common turn of phrase. But
of course,
recognizing how inaccurate that is.
And depression isn't even as much of a feeling, and it's definitely not a feeling that just comes and goes during a movie or something. That's really interesting you said that, because it kind of goes to the point that people will say, you know, indifference is the opposite of love, not hatred, because it's that lack of, whatever that lack of, that is depression. Like, the last time I experienced a bout of it was probably in 2016, and I hadn't in years and years. And I would experience a low level, like a low level sort of depression that would be kind of under the surface. But when I experienced a bout where I couldn't leave, and it lasted about like 3 days long, so it wasn't that long, it still was difficult. The mechanism I used in the very beginning to get out of it is move from action to action. So I was sleeping all day, and then I said, okay, I'm going to brush my teeth. It's the only thing I'm keeping in my head. Then I go and brush my teeth. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a shower. Then I take a shower. And it could sound insane to someone, but when you I had to make everything such a small chunk in order to keep going. And then for me, an object in motion kind of stays in motion. And that's how I pulled out of it. I remember telling my therapist, and they were like, that's actually really cool. And I was like, I mean, I didn't know what else to do. And I remembered when I was younger, something similar had happened. And if I just broke it down, whereas like, if I get anything done today, I'm going to brush my teeth. But then once you do it, then you're like, okay, I'm standing here.
Yeah.
What's my next move? It's like anything, like, you know, with attention issues, if you need to get something done, like if I do, I'll time myself. I'm going to give an hour to this project. Once I'm in it, then you keep going. And I don't know. It's something that I tried to use.
No, I love that. I love that. And I also like, this makes me think of, I saw Diane for like the first time in forever, because she had her cute little baby. It's a boy. He's very cute.
Oh, good. You're happy for her now.
Yeah. Well, I was sad because she was leaving me, but now she's back. So
yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah. I have what is the attachment style?
You may be ambivalent.
Yeah, that one. That one. When you're gone, it's like out of sight, out of mind.
You're like,
well, except for when I speak about her all the time.
Yeah,
but
no. She's a presence.
Yeah.
She could be a dream ghost for you.
Yeah.
Maybe she is.
Yeah. But it always, I always feel like I'm saying the words, but like sometimes I'm not really understanding. So like when people talk about like being triggered, I always think of like, what does that mean? Like, what does that look like? How can I like decipher that for myself to like hold the definition? Because otherwise it's really like, I won't remember it, guys.
Yeah.
And
you
then
need
like,
to internalize it somehow.
yeah. And so for me, it's like dying in a video game where for those few seconds where you're like, oh, I'm going to come back at the beginning of the game. But like, for me, it's like, if I'm triggered, then I'm in that like weird black space, for a minute and then I'm back at 0. And so now I have to do all of those things over again to get me back. It's like, for me, it was very similar to like starting in stand-up. Like if you stop doing stand-up, this is a very like, not a deep analogy, but
no.
If you stop doing it, because it's that instant validation, that like, if people like you then and they're laughing, you're like, this is everything. This is great. This is the easiest video game I've ever played. But the second they stop validating you, it's like, oh, every dagger that's ever been like shot at you or stabbed in you or whatever you do with daggers.
So the one time it happens feels like all the times that it happened.
Yeah. And then you're like right back, and then you have to kind of pick you're back at that 0. And even if you think your material is strong, it's like,
Totally.
it's a weird hobby.
No, I love it.
But that's what it feels like. And then you have to deal with, why does that trigger me like so much? Because I'm like, that would trigger anyone.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, look at me on a stage and not laugh. Don't acknowledge me. Don't accept me into your,
I think
into the
stand-up
fold of
looks
being a stand-up.
sad and scary. I think the act of stand-up looks sad and scary
Why
up there.
sad?
Just because it looks maybe lonely and scary. It's just you're putting yourself out there. I have so much admiration for people who do it because you're just putting yourself out there. You're all alone. It's all on you, and it would be awful to have a room of people not into it. And that's the sad. That's the piece that can be sad. Like, I don't think just all of it is sad, but it just seems devastating up there. Like, my heart goes out to the comedian when I've gone to stand up. I'm like, you're basically just telling your diary in stories and putting all your insecurities out there, because that is
For other people to laugh at, which is
for everybody to laugh at. Are you telling me that's not sad? Like, it's funny, but you're getting other people to laugh at your shit, even though they might experience that shit. They're not going to tell you they experienced that shit. So you're just the one putting your shit out there in story for people to laugh at. That's terrifying. I think it's very courageous. I think it's a courageous.
Yeah. Well, that's how I kind of feel about Rebecca in this, in that her like weird serial dating and like, wow, I can't do that. I'm not like a serial dater. I'm like, if you pique my interest, me being the, what is the word?
Well, this might be your avoidance side.
Avoid it. I just refuse to commit it to memory.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I'm going to, and keep in mind, I truly actually don't know, but I'm basing it off of what I've read.
Yeah. We're not experts, guys.
Yeah, guys.
This isn't a psychology
Let's
podcast.
definitely tell you we're not experts.
Sounds super boring. Just kidding. Listen to Esther Perel's podcast. That's a fantastic podcast.
Oh, I started listening to Mating in Captivity.
Yeah. It's a good book.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and Dear Sugars, if you just need the advice, Dear Sugar podcast, that was great. Modern Love podcast is great.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, then that is your ambivalent side, because you want connection, but then tell me about the avoidance side.
Oh, yeah. No, just avoidant, because I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really into this.
But even listening to the podcast shows an ambivalence, shows like a wanting, because everyone wants it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
But you might actively avoid it at the same time.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of time for like, I like to like get a dossier on someone and then review the dossier and then decide whether or not this is something that I want to pursue. Usually it's not. I'm like, is this list of issues that comes with this person worth the effort? Typically the answer is no.
Wait, so what were you going to say about Rebecca putting herself out there?
I'm always like very interested in the people who are the opposite of my spectrum, who are just like, I love you. I love everything about you.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Let's be friends for life. Let's connect on like the deepest of most emotional levels. And then
she's like, I hate you.
Yeah. And I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah.
I feel like those people are attracted to me because they're like, oh, a mystery. And I'm like, and we'll remain as such.
Well, you are perfect for the anxiously attached.
Oh yeah.
Because all they want is
all
someone
I'm going
who's
to do is
avoidant.
prove you right. Yeah.
Because we'll just be like, oh, they avoid me. I'll keep trying to get them because I'll matter if they stop avoiding me. And then it will continue.
Yeah. And I was like, this is a vicious pattern. Usually I can see it coming and I'm like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And that's my dossier. And I'm like, there's a neat file that I keep in my mind on like, just like, I don't know. I don't think I can get down with, A, B, and C and D. Oh my God.
Much. Too many letters.
And then people prove me right. And then I'm like, oh, I was always right about them.
Yeah, but there's also confirmation bias. We all look for things to prove ourselves right.
Well,
and
that's the hard thing about confirmation bias because I was correct.
Because you saw the things you were correct about.
Yeah.
There, I'm sure, were things you weren't. Maybe up for debate. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because I always see the things that I think that I'm correct about. But I think her character, some of this has to do with the way she interacts in the relationships in season 4 when she's kind of ping-ponging between 3 guys, Nathaniel, Josh, and Greg. New Greg. Which they handled that brilliantly.
I loved it. Who are you?
It actually made it like really funny as a part of it rather than more of a nuisance. Like, we all get it.
Yeah.
You're not hiding it from us. So New Greg, entirely different human, same feelings.
Yeah.
She ping pongs between them, but just it's basically who is in the room with her, talking to her, and giving her what she needs. So one moment, especially when she starts getting back together with Greg, and I can totally relate to this. She has this like fantasy of them having fun in the place that she loves, and it's not happening. And then you're hit with the, oh shit, this person is human. They're not always going to be on board with everything I do, but love can feel like that happiness doing all the same stuff, right? So like people who have insecure attachments like myself, like we can develop an attachment to someone just based on common interests, and we think, oh, that's love. That's all this stuff. We like the same things. We're having fun, same sense of humor. Then when that goes away, because it inevitably will, then it's like, oh, that's not, like I could completely relate to this. Oh, that's not what I thought this was going to be. So then what I don't, this was kind of horrifying. I can relate to some of her actions. I've never done it while in a relationship. And this steeped in feelings with multiple people. But I've done it on another level where it wasn't what I had dreamt it would be. Then I sought validation from someone else. Or the person hurt me, and then I sought validation for someone else. So not while I was committed, but definitely in college in my early 20s, I could see myself doing exactly what she did that night.
Wait,
like when she goes to Nathaniel, then she goes to Josh, and she's trying to feel better. Like, someone give this to me, or she was second choice in some situation, she doesn't care, or like it hit me. Like, I have felt that and done that on like a much smaller scale, but especially when alcohol is involved and I was young, I always felt validated. Like hooking up with someone or that kind of stuff made you feel good, made me feel wanted, validated, secure, even though it wouldn't be the same thing in the morning and you probably wouldn't even really talk to them. Just that ping-ponging, but not between, well, yeah, I have like called an ex when I was lonely or texted and you just want something. You're just looking for something. And she really went wild with it, but with her 3 drinks as a tiny Jewish woman, I'm like, 3 drinks, hilarious. That would certainly not happen to me with 3 drinks.
No,
like 3 drinks, I'm not. Just like,
yeah, it's still 7
existing.
p.m. Like, it's like, we just got here.
Guys. Her tolerance, I was like, that.
Yeah, but maybe in combination with the meds.
Yeah. Well, I'm on medication too. Yeah, it's
her meds.
Yes, a combination. But it made me sad. I thought it was a wonderful depiction of it. I loved when she goes out. She starts by going out for tacos, or she goes out. She's like looking. She's looking for blow. She can't find it, so she snorts ibuprofen. She smokes stale weed. Like, I understand. She's just trying to feel or not feel or feel better. But she's kind of like empowered by the whole thing. But it's really disempowering because she just needs someone else to make her feel better. But she's talking herself into being empowered. I'm not sad. You're sad. I have been there and done that. It was an incredible portrayal of that whole thing. I don't even know how we got onto that. But, the ping-ponging and dating.
The ping-ponging,
It's just like, he makes me feel, he's in the room now. And then later when she goes on the 3 dates, it's whoever is there with her. That's why I'm so happy about the ending. Because, like, at this point in her life, it is not about those people. If she can switch that quickly with the feelings, depending on who's in front of her, I'm not saying she doesn't love them, but it's at the end, that is not the thing. It's not the thing that will help her.
Exactly.
Nola agrees.
Thank God.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't relate to the ping-ponging because my avoidant personality wouldn't allow me to do such a thing.
It is avoidant, though, because it's not serious in a way, right? You can avoidantly ping pong if you're keeping it not close. But anyways, like, it's only about the physical. It's only about the sex.
I don't think that people with avoidant personalities
so? Yeah, maybe
operate
not.
in that way.
You're like,
because I'm like, your number one priority is protecting self, and I'm like, even though that is a fun way to distract yourself, that's not protecting self.
But I mean, victims of sexual assault a lot of times will sleep around and stuff to kind of reclaim it.
But do you know where they would fall within the?
No, I can't.
That attachment.
I just know that's something that can occur. But
yeah.
Well, anyways.
I'd be curious where they fall in the attachment spectrum. Because I would think, like, if somebody, and again, this is just opinion and conjecture.
Yeah, please, guys. I don't know for sure what people do, but I've read that it can happen.
Yeah, as kind of but I would think that that's probably somebody who already had more of an anxious attachment personality to try to reclaim power by doing the thing that's been done to you in a way that is meaningful to you.
Yeah.
Whereas an avoidant person might do something like, I feel like those people might like gain a lot of weight and to put a physical barrier between an emotional barrier.
Fascinating.
Or something like that. Or like, get very into fitness to be very extra careful about protecting yourself. It's protection of self.
Yeah.
is what I would think. I don't know. Again, I'm not a therapist. I've read a couple articles.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that would be my
WebMD.
thought. WebMD.
No.
MayoClinic.com.
You're totally right. And the eating, that's fascinating because there is emotional eating. And I definitely do that. I mean, I don't know anyone who really does it to some extent.
The instinct, I think, with this is to be alone. Like the Enneagram, I am everything that is boring about a 5. That is my personality to a T.
What is?
With the Enneagram, have you done that thing that where you're like 1 through 8 or 1 through 9?
Yeah, I was something that was weird.
Yeah, I'm the epitome of a 5.
Yeah, it was a hermit.
Yeah, it's the saddest one.
I was some sort of, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hermit though, wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've got like the wings on like the Enneagram, and like if I'm operating in a healthy space, then I'm like 1 number, and if I'm not operating in a healthy space, then it like really can like I see the traits of those other things, but the negative traits of being one of those other numbers. I won't put those numbers out there. If you're interested in Enneagram, then you already know what I'm talking about. And so that's why I can do things like this or have any like social interaction. Actually, I think it's because I grew up in a family with 3 sisters, and the interaction was there. If I was an only child, there'd be probably no hope for me. I probably would have taken over the world by now.
So, like, I was drawn to you when I first met you because you seemed so social, and you are always doing social stuff.
To advance my own world domination goals.
Right. Yeah. No. Now I know that there's right. It's not just the love of people.
No, I do love people. I want only good things for people, but I know that like I have a social limit. Where I'm just like, I need to retreat for maybe like 48 hours. Yeah. And get some internal processing done because, it's all sitting on the surface and it just seems like a dirty window. And I'm like, everyone's stuff is just like, because I'm not letting it in. Like,
I can relate to that.
But like, it's all just on the surface and I need like 2 days to just like clear it out and get back to center. Because like my most important priority is like keeping people on the periphery. And
yeah, also balance.
Just kidding.
I mean,
I don't keep everyone on the periphery. It's just very hard to get in.
She brings you guys in.
Yeah, you guys are in. I'm telling you stuff. Literally, if you would have met me 4 years ago, like different person. That's again like around the time that Crazy Ex-Girlfriend started. I started comedy and therapy. Wow. And I would have literally never watched this show. I would have literally never done this podcast, or I would be on a completely different, very mean trajectory. Oh, being mean is my favorite.
So what would you have done in these 4 years if you hadn't gone that way?
In my parallel universe?
Yeah.
More cynical podcast.
Oh my God.
Oh, probably.
Oh my God. I'm very curious.
I don't know. I'd probably still be working in real estate, being cutthroat, probably on a park bench. My face on a park bench, not my body.
Dead on a park bench. I love the idea.
Probably got heavily into cocaine.
I love the idea of your face on a park bench still, though. So if we can make that happen.
Get it done. Okay, so season 4.
Boom. Season 4.
So season 4 opens with the result of Rebecca's crimes, which is that she's pushed poor Trent off of a roof in order to save Nathaniel. So she's taken away in cuffs, brought before the judge, and ends up kind of pleading guilty to murder. Or not murder,
guilty
to assault.
To make up for
kidding.
all of her
Not
past
kidding.
wrongs. And we went over it in the last episode a bit, but privilege. I'm like, oh God, okay. And I wonder if, because this show is so self-aware, I wonder if she was really attempting to show that in this.
I think so. They bring it up. The characters bring it up.
Okay.
Okay. That she's privileged.
I was like, did this get past? Nothing can get past Rachel
Nothing.
Bloom.
Nothing.
Okay.
No. That Blue McKenna matchup, nothing's getting past them.
Yeah.
And I loved when they called that out in the show, when she's takes over the theater class, and they're like telling their stories. Tell me the song where it's like the cell block tango, but they're doing their stories. And then she's like, that's not a good story. And like, I loved it. And I loved that it also brought attention to why why a lot of women do wind up in situations like hers. God. And like,
about a man
or, you know, like I couldn't, I think one of the stories is like, I didn't turn in my boyfriend because then my kid would, you know, go into foster care or something like that. So she's just doing the time for something she didn't do. And I'm like, oh, that's heartbreaking.
Devastating. I love prison theater. You know I like prison theater. I think maybe we should SFL it into a prison and start a theater workshop. If I could go back and do that again.
Podcasting workshop.
Fun.
Actually, you can't profit off your crime, so what would they talk about? Just their non-criminal lives?
I think a podcast...
I guess that's probably interesting still.
I think a podcast inside of a prison is groundbreaking. Just like Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison performance.
That's not the same.
But let's go inside. I haven't been inside a prison for, I don't know, 20 years. And I told you I did a theater workshop. I was horrible at it. It was weird, but I'm ready. I'll go again. I've had enough buffer to get over the past.
I'm sure that there's programs, but I feel like in Illinois people escape a lot, and so pass. For me.
There's definitely programs. Yeah. And I would say, though, out of all of that, the walk through the prison yard was something that I was very, very scary. I will say that. I'd never felt so small. And it really was a lot of guys outside working out because it was a male prison, and then just staring. And it was just so primitive, and like it just felt wild. Like I didn't feel safe, and I don't know if I was, but I think it just having people confined like that, like it brings something out. Like what else are they going to do? They never see women. You know, it just kind of, I'm not saying get rid of prison systems, but it just, oh my God, it was disturbing. I will say that.
I mean, I feel like I mostly I am for abolishing prisons. I think we should do more to find ways to work people back into communities than we do presently in our present system. But my
sidebar,
my
policy change.
I would love the policy to be changed. I think that there are much better ways to reform people than to keep them in cages and treat them as if they're not human.
And the prison industrial complex. I mean, people are making a lot of money off of those.
Yeah.
So, especially because a lot of them are privatized, it's crazy.
I think the idea of a private prison is absolutely insane. But my biggest apprehension to going is I feel like I don't need to be present in order to feel the potent combination of despair and rage that I feel already. I'm like, I don't need to see it any closer than I've been.
Okay.
I've been to a regular jail, but not a prison.
Well, you know what? Let's not go. All right, let's take that off the to-do list.
You know, if you invite us out, I mean, if you're listening to the podcast currently and you're incarcerated and you wanted to come on the podcast, I wouldn't be opposed, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And didn't someone record?
Skype you in.
I think it was Shine who recorded his whole album over the phone in jail. And that was a pretty good album. So.
Oh, all right. It can
it's
be
possible.
done. Okay, so she's in prison, she gets out, and she's kind of backsliding, right? She's still trying to find the happiness, and she's getting in touch with the darkness. I loved that song about the darkness. A lot of the stuff was hitting home. I think she handled the depressive piece of borderline. While I've never experienced borderline, and that seems horrifying and a very difficult existence. I've experienced the emotional dives that are part of borderline. Mm-hmm. Like, my behavior has never been exhibited like that, but I understand the pieces when she goes into, like, going into the darkness to feel and all those kinds of things. It's great. But then, what does she learn?
What?
The happiness is inside herself. What we don't see at the end, and if I missed it, we know that Rebecca she chooses herself, and she is going to basically, I mean, if this is on point with what Rachel Bloom has experienced, it seems like at the end, Rebecca is going to create Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Mm-hmm. You know,
right.
She's about to write it and perform it, or she's about to perform it.
Yeah.
Which is a fascinating, sort of, it just ties it together so well. What we don't see is the guys deciding that Rebecca's not the answer.
Right.
But we know that if this story continued, they would, I think, or at least I hope they would.
Yeah, they're...
Right?
I mean, I think for the interest of time, they're just, like, very accepting of... Well, no, because they come back and like, Josh is with the other girl. Mm-hmm. I think that, they come to, like, some sort of,
That's true.
conclusion that, like...
Not Nathaniel, then. I guess Nathaniel is the one, and Greg, who seem like okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if they end up realizing it for themselves. Maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
I think Greg doesn't leave with someone. He's like...
Right. That's true.
And I think
they're
it's
on their own.
Maybe an allusion to because Josh has done some work on himself, he was able to find another healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And then maybe Greg, I mean, he's done work, but in the realm of, like, addiction.
And the business. Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe they are showing it. They just don't do it at an open mic like Rebecca does. I can only imagine the people that don't know her that are sitting there. They're like, what the fuck
this isn't funny.
Like, there's nothing funny about this. Oh, and here's a question I have, because we talked about the characters and their musical numbers. What does Paula, do we learn that they're not a part of those musical numbers?
They are not.
Like, their characters don't realize it, because I know they have that moment with Paula where she's like, you always go there. Where do you go? And it was a very Fleabag moment.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, shit. I mean, I knew they weren't, but I kind of thought maybe in this universe they were a tiny bit, and I wondered what Rebecca was doing when that happened.
I think exactly what they showed her doing, just like looking off into space. Yeah, totally dissociating. And then, like, because that is a weird thing. If you dissociate in your own head, like, your body is still here. Like, people can still see you, even though you were somewhere else.
So didn't anyone think she might have needed help?
Well, it just looks like she's thinking, like, really intently thinking about something.
That's right, but she ended it like this, like in an 11. I'm like, if I saw my friend disassociate and then start moving their lims in some
well, you wouldn't
dancing
think they would dissociate. They would just be like, it would just be like, why are you doing that? Like,
I would think they would need help.
I wouldn't think. Maybe I hang out with too many comedians, but I would just be like,
That's funny. I like that they recognize it. It takes it away from the regular musical format where you're just like, this fucking doesn't make sense that you're all singing. It comes out of nowhere. They're like, oh yeah, something weird happens when you do that in your head. I like the self-awareness of that. That's more of a musical comedy I can get down with.
Yeah.
Rather than just like West Side Story. God, like just the dancing and the singing where you're not even supposed to be and you'd get killed if you were there and no one's up and it's really loud. Shh, be quiet. My dad's here. And then like loud singing. I'm like, no, I can't do it. And they're actually singing. The characters are actually breaking into song for no reason. Oh God, guys. Oh my God. What do you think? Great. I mean,
great.
Fantastic.
100%.
SFL.
I think all of the women in this are SFL. All of the female characters, in my opinion, are SFLs.
Even if they're supporting, like, they're big supporting roles. Very big. Even Heather. They all have an arc.
A great trajectory from, like, I would say she's the character who's most like myself, kind of an avoidant
she's awesome
person.
And she loves Hector. Even though he starts to annoy her sometimes, which is funny.
Absolutely. But no one wouldn't annoy her.
No.
There's no exception to that
Although
rule.
I'd be annoyed by the same things where he was like spilling stuff and like had her key. I'm just like, ugh, get out.
Still love his mom. I wish their podcast was real.
Hector is so cute. They all have incredible trajectories and their character arcs are awesome. And I love that Paula is doing her thing, keeping to her values, doing what's important to her. And I love that she's a practicing attorney now.
Yeah. That made
so
me happy.
Good. Really.
And she gets to do the pro bono arm of the legal aid.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And everyone, who else are we forgetting? Valencia, she proposes.
Yeah.
Love that.
I loved that, like, back and forth about, like, I suppose non-traditional gender roles in a relationship. Like, why are you waiting for her to propose?
Because she always imagined being the one, you know, probably because she even saw herself maybe as the woman in the relationship. You know what I mean?
Like, that sounded bad.
I know. Maybe we have to cut that out because I don't mean it like that.
I know you don't mean it like that, but like, it's just like, like the language hasn't caught up with the idea that we're trying to get across.
Yeah, because not the I think she saw herself in the more traditional feminine role and wanted to be pursued like that, but then recognized that you can't pressure your partner to fit some standardized idea of a relationship based on heteronormative roles. So it's kind of, it's sort of exploring all of that. And it was so good. I love their relationship. I'm so happy for them.
Yeah.
So happy for them.
I feel like my friends are getting married. Yay.
Oh, God. Well, shit. Everyone's in SFL. I'm actually really sad for us to be done with this.
I know. It was fun rewatching so many. And I'm just...
Oh, can I just ask you, can you tell me what the theme songs... I know you said you realize what the theme songs are about at the very end. What are they about? Like, I know, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, obviously they go with each season, but like they kind of tell the story of kind of like the episode titles, telling the story of like where she is mentally, and I just love season 2. I'm like, I love season 2. The theme song, that song is so catchy to me. I can't think of any of the songs.
What about the specifics in the Meet Rebecca? Like lots of weird things, like I was in love with my uncle, or like the girl at the very end, the fake Rebecca would be like, I have 6 ferrets. Like I wanted to know if those specific lines had anything to do with something, but maybe it was just we're actually meeting Rebecca. Like maybe it wasn't as, literal like that. But
maybe
we're meeting who Rebecca is. I love that, though. They're like, she's funny, a generous friend. Ooh, there she looks kind of mean. But that was about who Rebecca was. The other ones were about what she was chasing.
Yeah, I think it's just like for me, it was like a very clever misdirect because I'm listening to the words of that song, but not digesting any of it.
You're just like,
I'm just like accepting this as a musical and just like, not absorbing any of what's actually being said, which is kind of the point.
She wants you to realize later.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. It's
but she's telling you throughout the whole goddamn show.
Because she's culting us.
Yeah, she's culting us. Yeah.
What was season 3's?
Ooh, I don't remember.
So that's it.
That's it. That's it for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Phenomenal
Crazy
show.
X SFL.
Crazy X SFL.
Rachel, please.
Thank you.
And thank you. Please get in touch with us, and thank you for
Please
changing our
create more
lives.
content. We're waiting. We are anxiously awaiting. I know that you're having a baby, and that's amazing.
Oh.
But
but Tessa would like you to
we're
move
on
on from
board
that.
for we are on board for your future creative endeavors. And
Oh my God, if she and Phoebe Waller-Bridge got together, I don't even know if the Brilliants would. Well, they're two different tones. It's a tone thing.
Yeah.
But they're just so brilliant. I'm like, can we just like mash them
yeah,
up? But
I would love for Phoebe Waller-Bridge to play the lead in something that Rachel Bloom wrote.
because she's funny.
Yeah,
she's
got timing.
She's way darker,
chops.
but not in the whimsical way.
Yeah.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's a little dark. In fact, Fleabag is so dark. Zach's like, I don't think this is a comedy. I think it's hilarious. He's like, it's sort of just a drama with lots of very funny parts. I actually thought the whole thing was a comedy, like a dark comedy.
I think it is a dark comedy,
Yeah.
but I think it's because it's a play. It can seem very
Yeah.
slow and like I should be taking this seriously.
Yeah. Oh my God, we digress. Guys, you can find us on Instagram at Strong Female Pod.
Yep, and on Twitter at SFL_Chicago.
And remember to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. Ronaldo, we're talking to you. You promised reviews on Instagram, and we're holding you to that. Tell your friends that they can choose an accent, and we will try our best.
We will try.
We will try our best. That's it.
That's it, guys. We'll see you in the new year.
See you in the new year. We've got some holiday goodness for you.
Yes, and a special guest.
Special guest. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.